hot. David DeWald out of Reading, Pennsylvania, and his teammate Bob Austin, also with the RC Cola team, will be challenging for the top spot. And DeWald holds the current world championship from a year ago that he won here.
Well, it's perfect conditions. The weather has turned out fine. There were some questions about that. The track should be very fast. We should see some great speeds. We'll be back with the action right after this. The 1993 Cypress Gardens Powerboat World Championship is brought to you by Budweiser. Fresh, pure, natural, proud to be your bud. By Johnson Outboards, makers of the Johnson Ocean Runner family of offshore outboards. Well, as usual on a very busy racing weekend, Saturday belongs to the SST 100s. The weather on Saturday not quite as favorable as it is today. The wind picked up about race time and it was very rainy.
Well, the key to the event really was the wind, as you mentioned. It started off for the drivers as they had a southeasterly breeze kicking up to about 15 to 20 miles an hour. And the problem for the drivers was not so much when they went down the front or back straightaway, but the way this course is really in a square. The drivers had problems as they crabbed their way into crosswinds down from turns 1 and 2 and then again from 3 and 4. Then as the race went on, well, and they battled the rain, but really with using Rain-X on the windshields themselves, that's not much of a problem, but the wind was a factor. The drivers had to be very judicious about the way they worked through the course.
Well, we talked so much about the matchup between Dean Chu and Scott Barnico, and they started right there together, 1 and 2.
All season long, the battle has been between these two drivers from the state of New Jersey, but you can see Chu on the inside in that yellow and blue boat getting a perfect start, and by him being on the inside on the pole, he had the inside shot. Now right behind him, the black stealth color boat, that's Scott Barnico, but you see he got pinched going into turn number 2. He had to back off of the throttle, and that really opened up the door of opportunity for Dean Chu to pull away. And there Roddy Foreman, you can see him in the orange and white boat, a little bit of a surprise out of Austin, Texas. He is racing in 2 classes this weekend, so he has to shift his attention not only to the 100s but the 60s. But here's Dean Chu out in clear water and making good his escape from the rest of the field, and he knew then that Scott Barnico was going to have to reel him in. Now Dean Chu found himself in Dallas losing to Scott Barnico, but after the race was over in impound, they found that Scott Barnico, the defending world champion, had a little immorality with the problem with the engine itself. The inormality of the boat disqualified him, gave Dean Chu the win. And Chu's last race, head-to-head battle with Scott Barnico, was in Madison, Indiana back in July, and Barnico had won that race. But Dean Chu was here and trying to make an avenge from what had happened to him in Indiana, and you can see he's doing a great job of it.
So much emphasis is put on the start. They say if you can beat the field to that first gate and get the lead, you really can take control then, and you're pretty hard to catch, and you can see that right here with Dean Chu. He got off to the lead and just continues to pull away right now from Roddy Foreman.
Well, Chu right now is in a situation where in that first couple of laps, he was so very quick, and he had that clear water. He was really pulling away from the rest of the pack. Can you believe this? 2 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field, so he was really using that opportunity to do so. He was concentrated, he was focused, not much porpoising. You can see that boat fly as it comes down to turns 3 and 4. That's what the driver wants to do. He wants to bring the boat out of the water, and only the last foot or so is actually touching the water. Thus, you get rid of the drag, you take all the weight out of the boat, it ends up flying on the water, thus you get to go faster. As they come battling through, there's Scott Barnico, who had moved up to 3rd, your defending world champion. He was starting to make a little charge here at this point, trying to close in on Roddy Foreman, the man from Austin, Texas, in that orange and white boat who's in 2nd. You can see Barnico was starting to catch him, but remember, your defending world champion was in a guest ride. He didn't know much about the boat, and he was trying to scramble and catch up all weekend long to try to figure out the boat, dial it in. He didn't have much practice time, and it was going to cost him as the race went on. as Dean Chu continues to work through here. You can see, maybe not so much on our monitor, but it's starting to pick up in the rain, and you can see the swells on the water a bit. It's causing a little bit more of a problem for the drivers in concentration. Now, when you're going 110 miles an hour as they go right into turn number 3 here, this is a very fast part of the course, even they're going into the wind. Now he's going through this point into turns 3 and 4 down this short straightaway. That's a crosswind, and you can see him as he flies the boat. He realizes that he can get the nose up a little bit higher because here on the back straightaway he's got a tailwind, and with that you can raise the nose up and really get the boat flying. But you have to be cautious again, because as you come into turn 1, as you do here, it's a crosswind effect again, and here they're slowing down because we had a problem on the race course. Troy Witt out of St. Petersburg. Obviously you can tell the driver is a-okay. He's swimming around the boat. That's a great sign, and you can see him now trying to get his way around the boat toward the rescue craft. Of course, the great rescue people that they have here all around the inside of the race course.
Well, Dean Chu got the great start, took the lead, really put a lot of distance between himself and the field. Problems now, restart, and he's going to have to do it all over again.
Dean Chu had built up an over 10-second lead on the rest of the field and Roddy Foreman. Now, all of a sudden, with the accident, everybody has to go back to the dock. They line up and they go back to the last full lap they had raced. So we went back to lap number 9 of 20 for this event. And so Dean Chu, a reset, a mindset, and he's got to do it all again perfectly. So the pressure was on him to do it correctly again. And you can see right from the start he did. Inside lane, had the advantage, had the clear water, and Roddy Foreman off to his right trying to challenge here, and he got right behind him. But now you can see a driver who hadn't been in the picture very often was the driver from Tennessee, Gary Pugh, who built that boat in that red and black machine. He got around Roddy Foreman, and now he is challenging Dean Chu for the lead. This a little bit of a surprise.
Jim Sharp, also from Rochelle, Illinois, he's in there too. 4th now, and sandwiched in between is Roddy Foreman.
Sharp, who had run strong all season long, we expected to see him up in the top 5. He hadn't made much noise early on, but on the restart, he all of a sudden was able to correct the problems that he had in his boat, and he now is trying to challenge in the top 5, and he had moved up to 4th at that point.
And earlier we had a chance to talk to Jim Sharp about racing in these not so favorable conditions.
Yeah, the wind really wasn't that bad. The back straightaway you had to be pretty careful, or it would definitely pick you up a little bit. The rain was kind of keeping your windshield wet all the time. Whether you were in the spray or not, you were going to definitely get some water sprayed up on you. Actually, the way my race turned out, I was kind of getting hosed by somebody every turn I turned around anyway, so I really didn't even realize that it was raining as hard as it was until the race stopped, and then I realized that it was rain putting a lot of that water up there.
So Dean Chu survives a restart, leads the entire race, 20 laps. It's all Dean Chu. The checkered flag. Steve, very impressive win.
Well, here he comes, a very happy 23-year-old from Sewell, New Jersey, our new SST 100 world champion, Dean Chu. Congratulations, a tough 20 laps around. I'll tell you something, today wasn't easy for you. A lot of wind, a lot of rain, and a lot of competition.
Sure was. We had some top competitors here this weekend. Scott Barnacow, Gary Pugh, Jim Sharp, and the rest of the crowd. We kind of went out and did what we wanted to do. We tested to come off the beach very quick, and we tested to have good lap times, and it really worked out for us.
Our racing from Cypress Gardens continues in a moment. Cypress Gardens is Florida's oldest operating theme park. Eat your heart out, Disney World. More from the 1993 Powerboat World Championships in a moment. SST 100s, SST 60s, SST 45s, it can all be very confusing unless you have an expert like Steve Michael to explain it to us. Steve?
All day long, we're going to be talking about the 3 different classes of boats that we'll have racing here at Cypress Gardens this weekend. The SST 45s, the 60s, and the 100s. Well, the obvious difference is size. Let's take a look at the boats. The engineers of Outboard Marine Corporation have been developing a new high-performance engine for the Outboard Performance Craft Division of the American Powerboat Association based on the Johnson & Evinrude 122 cubic inch V4 140 horsepower production engine. This boat made its rave reviews in 1990 And every driver just loves the 110-mile-an-hour speed on these 16-foot tunnel boats. The SST 60 offers speeds to the high 80-mile-an-hour range on these 15-foot tunnel boats. Already a very popular class, it's based on the Johnson & Evinrude 70-horsepower production engine. No modifications are allowed to the engine, fostering close competition that features driver ability. Using the Johnson or Evinrude 45 cubic inch twin-cylinder production engine, the SST 45 class offers the thrill of 70 to 80 mile an hour competition for a moderate price. Today's hulls are virtual second cousins of the Formula One class, right down to their fully enclosed safety cell, as these boats are 13 feet long and they can turn on a dime and give you change. Aha, it looks real, but it's not. I'm not King Kong, but let me explain why these are called tunnel boats. I'll use this example here of this model. You can see from underneath the boat, this is the key. It's cut out to where they want a tunnel of air to flow underneath the boat, and thus it helps lift the boat out of the water. And at speed, well, maybe only the last foot and a half of the boat is actually touching the water.
We're ready now for the first qualifying heat, and this should be a great one, Steve.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's going to be 32 boats battling for 20 positions in the final this afternoon. This is the first of 3 heats of the day, and this will be a key, this one. As the drivers, there'll be 2 world champions in this event. Yes, the 1991 champion, Garrett Armstrong, starting back in the 7th spot. He's in boat number 22. And the defending world champion, David DeWald, out of Reading, Pennsylvania, the 29-year-old, will be starting in the 2nd spot. He is undefeated. Has been to 2 of the 4 races previous. He won those 2. But keep an eye on his partner, who's on the pole, boat number 98, Bob Austin Jr., out of Little Silver, New Jersey, also driving for the RC Cola Machine team. Drivers now under starters' orders. Any second now they look for the flag to be dropped, and it's underway, and they explode away from the dock. And there's a one boat getting slow off the field, out the tail end of the field. That's Erwin Julian. But as they come down the front straightaway, look at the challenge by Richard Hearn, the 21-year-old in boat number 12. He started in 5th. He is trying to go side by side with the RC Cola boats. But right now it looks like David DeWald, who started back in 2nd position, challenging his teammate who was on the pole, Bob Austin Jr., for the lead. And it looks like David DeWald is jumping out to a lead as he is trying to pull away from Bob Austin on the back straightaway. What a great start for David DeWald, the defending world champion.
From Reading, Pennsylvania, a member of the Hall of Champions, driving a Hoffman with Evinrude power, and right now he has the lead.
His lead up to 1.6 seconds. Now they'll come by the start-finish line, and then we'll start counting our 10-lap race. Right now, we're underway officially as David DeWald goes by, goes down into turn number 1. Richard Hearn back in 3rd, trying to challenge for 2nd place as he's trying to close in on Bob Austin. Austin, out of Little Silver, New Jersey, who built this boat himself, has been tweaking it all season long. And now our leader already coming up on lap traffic as he's making a wide turn past Erwin Julian out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. And as David DeWald now working his way down the back straightaway. Here he is going the fastest because that is downwind as we put the clock on the interval between 1st and 2nd. Look at the lead he's built up. He's up to 3.1 seconds here on this very first lap as he's making good his escape from the rest of the field. And coming out of turn number 4, there's Bob Austin. You see him on your screen back in 2nd position. He and David DeWald are friends. They've been teammates for years. They have watched each other battle since they were youngsters. There's no secrets between these two. A little bit more, as we talked about, these should be the 2 competitors in the battle for the World Championship this afternoon. Hearn may have hit a buoy if he's got streamers hanging off the side, if that is orange. And yes, it looks like he may have taken a buoy out. You can see it right there, and oh yes, look at the right mirror. Oh my, he did get his hand caught in the cookie jar. Richard Hearn has taken out a buoy, and yes, he will be penalized. So he's 3rd on the race course, but he will not be 3rd in the standings when this one ends. Coming out of a great vantage point here, coming down toward turn number 4. There's our leader, David DeWald, as he comes right at you here. And look at the turn he makes. Puts that boat on rails and looks up and sees he's got 1 more lap to go here in heat number 1. Less than a mile to go, and he is stretching out his lead. on second place driver and teammate Bob Austin Jr. out of New Jersey. And we check the interval between first and second place as now our leader David Awald goes on the back straightaway. He has really stretched it out the last couple of laps. His lead 7.5 seconds on the man in second place. There's Austin now just trying to get home. He'll settle for second place. That'll put him up high on the starting grid for this afternoon's World Championship final. And as the rest of the field comes through, and heading toward the checkered flag, there he is, your winner, David DeWald out of Reading, Pennsylvania, in the RC Cola Hoffman Evinrude machine, and he will be the first winner of the afternoon.
Well, David's a former world champion, defending world champion. What is he looking at now? We've talked so much about the fact that he and Bob Austin are good friends and teammates. What does he take back to the pit area now that will help him in this quest for Bob Austin? And what does Bob Austin have to do to regroup and make a better run at him in the afternoon?
Well, it's almost scary for David Awald because he realized that his teammate may be his toughest challenge of the day, and by defeating him by over 7 seconds, it sounds almost too good for him. And the 7 drivers that move on to the finals. David Awald, your winner. In second place, Bob Austin. In third, Garrett Armstrong. In fourth, Greg Bergauer. In fifth, Steve Moniz. In sixth, Sean Tavares. And in seventh, Scott Johnson.
When you visit Cypress Gardens this year, the park people will brag about their 1,000 butterflies, 50 different species from all over the world. We'll return to beautiful Cypress Gardens and more Powerboat racing. Steve and I can try all day to try to describe what it's like being inside a tunnel boat. But here is the best way. Let's give you a ride with Terry Rinker in the cockpit of an SST-45.
Terry Rinker in the boat. You can see him accelerating. What a great vantage point we have for you. The helmet is actually with the camera on the side, and you can see him as he makes these hard turns to the left. Down the straightaway he goes. You can see that the boat is just elevated a bit. He gets the nose up. He sets an angle of attack there as he goes through a corner. This is squared off course. You can expect the drivers to be pulling 2 Gs on this race course. Keep an eye on his hands as he sets up now, making just a quick adjustment, and he'll use his fingers on the steering wheel to adjust the trim button, moving the engine in and out of the boat. But again, you can see that the angle of attack on the boat, the nose comes up and goes down. He goes over some chop here. In the conditions yesterday, it was pretty wavy, and he found himself on waves that were at least a foot high. But here around the course he goes, using his fingers and his thumbs especially to adjust the trim on the boat. Around the corner he goes. There you saw one of the buoys on the course. Now he raises the nose up, up, up on the straightaway, getting the boat out of the water as he accelerates up to 80 miles an hour on the back straightaway. Pretty calm through here. Now as he sets up for the corner, you can see him turn. Watch his thumb again. He's lowering the nose of the boat as he comes through the corner there, and down the back straightaway he goes again. And as his ballet that the drivers go through lap after lap.
Just about ready to go. This is Heat B of the SST-45s.
Gordy Miller out of Round Lake, Illinois, got a tough draw. He's forced to start in the back of this field. He's got a lot of talent. He won every major championship in this class back in 1991. That's how good he is. He didn't win the World Championship that year, but he won everything else but that. He is dying to win the World Championship in this class. Well, you can see the drivers raising the canopies here. It's very hot, and they are directly under the sun today, and really there's no air that comes through there. Just a little bit as they go racing, but when you shut that, it's really totally enclosed, and that's what you want to protect you in case you crash. All of a sudden the water doesn't come rushing in on your helmet in the cockpit.
Just seconds away from the start right now. Fred Rothman on the pole, but we're going to keep our eyes on Las Vegas, boat number 74, Terry Rinker in boat number 3, who we put the onboard camera with earlier, and of course Gordy Miller, boat number 33.
All eyes glued on the official flag. They drop the flag and we're underway. And all boats get away from the dock, and now the race toward the front begins, and Terry Rinker, the man who we used with the camera on his helmet in the boat, is jumping off to the lead. Rinker in the 4 starting spot, swings wide, going down toward turn number 2. But look at Las Vega, the 22-year-old student out of the University of Miami, going over. And Las Vega ended up touching the right spots on one of the boats, and the field coming through as they tiptoed their way around Las Vega as the youngster out of the University of Miami, calling of the boat off to his left as he went into turn number 2, and he's getting out of his boat. He is waving, he is winded, and it looks like he is okay, but he has got to be very disappointed. One of the fastest drivers in the field, Las Vega out of Miami, Florida, has been eliminated from getting a chance to win the World Championship today.
And they go to work on him. The good thing is we did see him come out, wave, and he should be okay. Let's take a second look.
As the wave, the flag begins, here's the jump. Fred Rothman on the pole out of North Miami. And you can see right off the bat the yellow boat of Terry Rinker from the 4th spot nailed it just perfectly. And Rinker, look at him explode away from the rest of the field. And he now heading down toward turn number 1. Has to go wide though, remember. He's got to maintain his lane, and that gives the drivers to his left a chance to close the gap. And there we see Las Vega coming in, and Las trying to make the corner. And it looked like he tapped maybe with Brian Julian, the driver out of Wisconsin. He climbed right over the right spots, and that's who it was, Julian. And he tried to make the turn. Julian hadn't made the turn yet, and instead he climbed the ladder, and he blew the boat over instantly. The nose got too high. The wind got underneath the nose, and before Las Vega could react, he was wet.
Around the drivers and in the pit area, you'll hear a lot about safety in this sport. My broadcast partner, Steve Michael, with one of the reasons powerboat racing just got a little safer.
Success in any major motorsports begins with safety, and back in the mid-1980s they had a real problem in tunnel boat racing in Europe. They killed 4 drivers on the Formula One tour, and they needed to make a change. And that's exactly what they did. As Charlie Monsiokis joins me now as we talk about capsules. Charlie, tell me about...
Steve, we get back into just sort of like the sports cars. We need to, they were having problems too. They came up with the roll cages. Now we are similar to it. Basically what we have is the same thing, but we're using different materials. We have a reinforced cockpit. It's kind of hard to see here with the foam padding, but it has an inner core of PVC high-density foam with layers of Kevlar and carbon fiber on each side. And this really does a job as far as impact and just really taking care of the driver.
When you think of boating on a weekend, when you're going out on a cruise, whether it's on a lake or on a river, yeah, you might put on a bathing suit and maybe even a life preserver. Well, for drivers here on the racing tour, it's totally different. Safety is number 1, and Greg Cawley alongside, who is the SST 60 2-time world champion. Greg, show us a little bit about the safety equipment you wear from the inside out.
Well, basically what I've got on today is my driving suit, which covers the legs and arms in case you bang into anything inside the capsule. I've got what you call a capsule jacket on. It's not something that you just strap on, it's something that you wear. I mean, you step into it, it can't fall off. You know, you're built right into it. In case you have any kind of a problem out there on the course, you've got some epaulets here that the rescue workers can grab onto to help get you out of there. The jacket will float you, but you know, it's not a ski jacket, but it's designed to protect the driver. Other than that, I've got my helmet here, which has to be, it has to meet certain standards. It's SNELL approved. They check it at every safety inspection at every race. I also have communication to my pit crew. In case we have any kind of a problem, I can tell them if I've got a hole in my boat, if I need a prop, propeller, or whatever. It may seem like a lot of equipment, but safety is the most important in boat racing.
You're watching the SST 45 World Championships from Cypress Gardens. We'll be back right after this. Well, Steve, ready now for the restart. Of course, on the first start, Terry Rinker got a great jump, had to run his lane the entire way though. Hurt him a little bit once he made the turn, had a big lead going into the gate. We'll see if he can do that again and maybe this time come away with first place.
And on the restart, all boats go back to their original order of start. So Terry Rinker moves up a spot. He's going to start from the 3rd position now. Let's see if he can really take advantage of that situation. Any second now. Drivers under starters' orders. Complete concentration in the cockpit.
Fred Rothman on the pole. Watch for boat number 33, Gordy Miller on the complete outside.
And we're underway. And again, Terry Rinker out of Tampa, Florida, leaping out to the lead. As we watch him now going down through the gate section. He'll slide off to the left through turn number 1. And Rinker trying to be challenged down the inside by Fred Rothman, but a driver who's making some fast progress from the back is Jason Campbell. He's up to 2nd position. Campbell, who started back in 10th, and behind him up to 4th place is Gordy Miller out of Round Lake, Illinois, who we talked about. But Jason Campbell, the man from Arizona, right behind Terry Rinker, and they are going toe-to-toe now as they come out of turn number 3, heading down toward turn number 4.
Well, the restart definitely helps Terry Rinker as he takes over first place. He'll hit the start-finish line, and we'll start counting the first lap. Right on his heels, though, Jason Campbell.
Rinker goes wide. Campbell gets the inside. That's where Jason wanted to be. Now he slides to the outside as they go through turn number 1. And Terry Rinker in a boat that he built himself over the summer months, as having it all his own way right now, but Campbell hasn't given up. He's trying to close the gap. Campbell just 3 boat lengths back. Now he forces his way to the inside. Rinker on the outside. Here on this course on the back straightaway. This is the fastest point right there as they hit turn number 3. There are the drivers. Make adjustments on their steering wheel. Set the trim, lower the nose. Now as they come down this short chute, they range the nose up. Get the boat out of the water. There's your leader, Terry Rinker, out of turn number 4. Completing lap number 1 with 9 to go. Trying to pull away from Jason Campbell. The difference between 1st and 2nd. 1.3 seconds after lap number 1.
Well, Steve, we didn't expect this heat to be quite as fast as Heat A, but we thought it might be a little more hotly contested, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Back in 3rd position as we watch the boats go through. We look back, there is the man in 2nd place. That's Jason Campbell out of Mesa, Arizona, making the turn a little bit longer through a pin instead of squaring it off. They want to keep the power up and the momentum, and they want to slide it through. There you see Rinker as he got it up. He got the boat hippity-hoppeting through there, and sometimes you have to be careful when that happens. If you launch off a wave, a lot of times what can happen is the front end can stuff into a wave, and then you immediately submerge and submarine, and you could go from 80 miles an hour to 0 in a flick of an eyelash.
Well, Rinker trying to put some distance between himself and Jason Campbell, but it's not happening. Campbell doing a great job staying right there on his heels, and he still has a shot.
Campbell is known as a charger late, and you can see him starting to close the gap. Campbell now just 3 boat lengths back as they go down the back straightaway, and Rinker is hanging it all out. You can see him, but Campbell using the outside lane. I think he's found that he can go faster through the corners by going to the outside, and now he shifts. He changes philosophy. He says, no, I want the inside, but now he goes to the outside. He hasn't made up his mind yet. He doesn't quite know which way he can gain ground, and by doing that, cutting back and forth through the wake, you lose time because, as we talked about earlier, you go through the other driver's wake, and thus there's a lot of air bubbles, and when the propeller hits it, you slow down. But look at the great turn that Campbell made. He slid that boat through the inside and closed the real escape between 1st and 2nd place, and now he's challenging for the lead.
And he's got it as he goes right back around him going into turn 2, and now he hits the fastest part of the track, and he is widening the gap right now on Terry Rinker.
He's having it all his own way on the back straightaway with just over a lap to go.
And what's so incredible about this is Jason Campbell really didn't start in a good position. He was next to the last place. Gordy Miller, the only boat on the outside of him. He has come all the way from next to last now to 1st place.
And Campbell looks down. He sees the white flag come out. 1.15 miles to go. And he is really stretching the margin out between he and Terry Rinker. And Campbell heading down toward turn number 2. The gap between 1st and 2nd in a lap and a half. Jason Campbell has been able to pull away from Terry Rinker by over 5 seconds. So the question remains, is Terry Rinker having a problem with his boat, or is Jason Campbell just showing smoke and mirrors? And finally, when it paid off, he made his move and powered away from the pack. That's something we'll find out for you.
Of course, it's even if you're not contending for the lead right now in the heat race as we wrap it up, it's very important to go fast. The top 7 move on to the finals.
Well, he's come from coast to coast to come away with this heat win. He slides out of turn number 4. He looks up and sees the checkered flag, and there's your winner, Jason Campbell out of Mesa, Arizona, driving a California-built Hoffman hull. In second, Terry Rinker out of Tampa, and in third, Mark Anderson out of Kent, Ohio, and another driver who started at the tail end of the field who charged to the front. Gordy Miller out of Round Lake, Illinois, finished 4th, but there is a very happy young man from Arizona. Here are the results for heat number 2 in the SST 45s. Jason Campbell wins by 6 seconds over Terry Rinker. In third was Mark Anderson. Then Gordy Miller coming from the back, Frank Arion. Finishing in 6th was Brian Julian, and finishing in last in 7th spot in the top 7 was Rodney Shue out of Kankakee, Illinois. Finishing in the final heat, the third heat of SST 45s, Doug Boyer out of Eastport, Michigan. Works a close victory over Chris Tremblay out of Keyport, New Jersey. Jim Sobel finished 3rd. Terry Guimau was 4th. Mike Mears was 5th. And Edward Morin finished 6th. And Bob Jessup finished in the 7th spot.
You're watching the SST 45 World Championships from Cypress Gardens. We'll be back right after this. Well, we're ready now for the SST 45 class to run for the World Championship. Should be a great start, the kind of start that we haven't seen yet this weekend. 20 boats.
32 drivers have come from all over North America and Bermuda to battle today. David DeWald, the defending world champion, he's right where he wants to be, leading this pack through. My word, in his race that he had in his first heat race to qualify for the pole, he was 5 miles an hour faster than the other 2 winners. Just seconds from the start, the white flag is up. And they drop the flag and they're underway. And David DeWald quickly on the inside. But a great start, and start number 4 back is Brent Tremblay. As we look back, we can see the driver Chris Tremblay trying to make a move. His teammate on RC Cola as they go down to turn number 1. It's DeWald with Chris Tremblay on the side to the right as all the boats filter down through turns number 1. The RC Cola team 1 and 2 here as they go through turn number 2, lap number 1. As they all funnel down into turn number 2, making sure everybody gets through their A-OK. Las Vegas did not in his heat race, and it looks like it's a safe race so far. As we look back to our leader, we can see the man out of Reading, Pennsylvania, the propeller maker who has really got the water churned up right now as he is trying to make good his escape for the rest of the field early on as he comes out of turn number 4, being chased by Chris Tremblay. Around he comes. We start the 20 laps right here. And in second place, Bobby Austin is moved up in the RC Cola boat number 98, 1.8 seconds behind. Tremblay has dropped back into 5th position. So it's the RC Cola team, 1-2. Bob Austin, who was defeated by David DeWald in heat number 1 by 10 seconds, is trying to do chase, but right now it is not working.
One note on these 45s, they're about 12 feet in length, and they'll be reaching speeds at around 85 miles an hour, and they really can corner. And you'll see that right there as DeWald goes into turn 3 and heads for turn 4.
Flare comes out. There's a problem on the race course. As the flare comes out here on this 1.15 mile course, and we look for the driver. He is in the water, and he is being assisted by one of the rescue people as they move him away from his boat. They are going to stop this race here at Cypress Gardens with 3 laps gone of this 20-lap affair.
Well, Steve, I think when most people think about water skiing, especially water ski shows, it's kind of natural to think about Cypress Gardens. In fact, the whole time I was growing up, I had a Cypress Gardens slalom ski, and that's all I ever used.
You know, I got to confess, I did too, as a matter of fact, up in Minnesota. And Cypress Gardens, by the way, the first water ski show took place back in 1943. And that was because a group of local skiers gathered on the shores here at Lake Eloise to entertain a military troop that was on leave. You know, since that day, they've had more than 60,000 shows, and these boats, by the way, you combine all the time they've been on the water, over 1,000,000 miles on the water here in Lake Eloise. Tremendous shows. They do it 365 days a year.
That's wild. They've set 50 world records, and most of them you can see right here during their show. Really is something else.
Drivers from 9 different states and 2 different countries ready to go as we set up for the restart of the SST 45 World Championship, the 3rd time they have been here in a row in Cypress Gardens on a picture-perfect, beautiful afternoon.
You see the boat number 24 there, the pole sitter, David DeWall, the defending world champion, waiting for him to drop that white flag.
And they're underway, and again it's flown away from the dock, and again it's Chris Tremblay who gets a great start as he comes barreling up from his 6th starting spot. Now the 3 RC Cola boats side by side as they go through the gate into turn number 1. And it's David DeWald on the inside who got a great jump again on the field as he's the first boat to go through turn number 2. As all the boats cleanly away here on the restart, we're at lap number 2. And DeWald being chased off the hip on the right side by his teammate, Bob Austin Jr. out of Little Silver, New Jersey, a boat that he had built himself. And David DeWald, our leader, the 29-year-old out of Reading, Pennsylvania, who is a propeller maker, has found the right combination so far. He won his heat race by over 5 miles an hour from the rest of the field. He won by 10 seconds, and already you can see the gap as it starts to build. And the difference between first and second, 1.65 seconds. Now 2 laps down, we start to count again here on this 20-lap race. As we take a look from high on our vantage point, you can see him heading down toward turn number 2.
Well, Steve, you can see the difference right there between the first and second place boat. One boat that you don't see up here among the leaders, Jason Campbell, got a terrible start. He won the second heat, was starting in the number 2 spot. DeWald, Austin Jr., everybody pulled away from him. Campbell is the opposite. He is almost in the very back of the pack.
There you see the battle back for 5th and 6th position on the race course. Greg Bergauer again making a move as we go back to our leader, David DeWald. Here's Bob Austin Jr. in 2nd place, your driver out of New Jersey, the boat that he has built himself. This is about the 3rd boat that he has built in this class, and it looks like the cockpit, the canopy may be open just a tad. Now that may be, he may have popped it open for a little air coming in, or else he's got a problem with it. It looks like he may have one of the latches down, and right now being very busy making corners as much as 3 G's into the corner. It's awful hard to reach up and try to slide that latch back down on the boat to hold that canopy closed, or else if that's not the problem, maybe the canopy latch itself broke off, and that's going to hurt him. Little tenths of a second, but boy, they add up as you go lap after lap after lap.
Well, when you're trying to get someone like David DeWald, who has just been so fast, Austin Jr. really has to concentrate solely on his driving. Might be a little bit of a benefit. I know it's late in the year, but down here in Florida, it's awfully muggy. The good side to it may be he's getting a little more air than everybody else.
David DeWald is coming down, and he is looking for that white flag. One more time to go. 1.15 miles, and David DeWald will renew his world championship for another year in his SST 45 class. And right now there are boats way out in front of him. He doesn't have to be too concerned about lapping traffic at this point as he comes down into turn number 2. Let's follow him around here on his very last lap. DeWald now on the inside, working his way around one of the back markers. He is going so fast, he caught that back marker, and now just a half a lap to go. He looks up, he sees only 2 more corners. He makes that, puts it right on rails, makes the turn, and now looks up and sees the final turn. Doesn't want to take it too hard, eases off a bit. He's got over an 8-second lead, and here he comes. He can see the checkered flag, he can coast home, and there he is, your winner of the World Championship for the 2nd year in a row, David DeWald out of Reading, Pennsylvania in boat number 24. Well, here he is. He makes it 2 in a row. David Wald out of Reading, Pennsylvania, captures another SST 45 World Championship. Congratulations. This is getting almost repetitive for you.
Well, the last one was pretty tough, and that was a little bit under controversy. I still got passed in the end last year, so this one feels a lot better.
Well, you had to go through another restart today. You came back. You had a couple of great starts. I noticed your teammate Chris Tremblay hanging right in there, but you were able to power away from Bob Austin once again also.
Yeah, all three RC Cola boats came off the beach great. When I got to the first turn, that's all I saw, so I knew we were in good shape. And I was worried. I couldn't see my mirrors real well. I thought as it got really rough and the lap traffic, last year Hoffman snuck up on me, and I thought the same was going to happen to Bobby Austin this time. So luckily he wasn't coming on me because I couldn't see him.
Congratulations. Will you see us back here one more time next year? Going to try a three-peat?
Yeah, I'll try for it. Thanks.
All right, there he is, your winner, David Wald out of Reading, Pennsylvania. He's made it 2 in a row here at Cypress Gardens.
There's a look at beautiful Cypress Gardens, the setting for our final race here, and it should be a good one as the 60 class gets ready to roar.
Tremendous amount of spectators in the stands, even out in boats and spectator boats, encircling this 1.15-mile race course. All drivers focused on the official starter. They're now under starter's orders. They look off to their right. They wait for the white flag to drop, and once it is, we will go racing. 20 laps, we begin it all for the SST 60 Cypress Gardens Cup, and they wave the flag, and they explode away from the dock, and our world champion is stuck at the dock. Greg Colley now fires away, but already he is 6 seconds behind the rest of the field. And oh my, does this change the picture now? As the driver who has only lost once all year long, been disqualified once, now is at the tail end of the field. So we'll see what he can do. As we look back, and there we see Roddy Foreman, who is back in 3rd place. Sam Labanco right in front of him. And as they go racing now down into turn number 3. Here comes the field through. And it looks like Brian Rogerson out of Portsmouth, Virginia, who challenged here a year ago. And he finished 2nd, wants to win it all this year, and he's going to be a tough man to catch. Rogerson, Sam Labanco 2nd, Roddy Foreman in 3rd place.
As you watch the battle continue right there for 2nd and 3rd place, Roddy Foreman trying to squeeze by, and so far hasn't been able to do it.
Foreman thinks he's got a faster route around the outside. Foreman now with Labanco. We look back in the field. Greg Colley has moved up to 5th place. Our world champion up to 5th and on the charge as we look at the battle for 2nd place. Now Foreman side by side with Sam Labanco, the 45-year-old out of Northbrook, Illinois, who's been racing for 29 years. A classic case of which boat can get through a corner better. Is it better to go on the inside or the outside? Right now it looks like our man who came off the bull, Roddy Foreman, likes it on the outside, and he has gotten by Labanco up to 2nd place and now puts the charge on our leader, Brian Rogerson, the 30-year-old out of Portsmouth, Virginia, and he's closing the gap between 1st and 2nd. Foreman is definitely on a charge.
Great racing right here as they reach speeds at around 90 miles an hour. This is the SST 60 class racing for the Cypress Gardens Cup.
And now Foreman itching his way out into the lead. Roddy Foreman out of Austin, Texas has found his way around on the outside of the back straightaway. And he has passed Brian Rogerson for the lead. So Foreman, who started on the pole, had another weak start, was able to catch up to Brian Rogerson. And there's a boat over down into turn number 3. And it looks like it's Greg Colley. Greg Colley, the 2-time world champion, who was looking to win his 5th race in a row in this Pro Tour for 1993. He overcooked it. He got too anxious going into turn number 4.
Well, right here, Steve, we'll get a chance to see a rare mistake made by a 2-time world champion.
Greg Colley, you can see him. Right here is the fastest part of the course that we talked about with a tailwind. He'll set the boat right here. But there you see him launch off a wave just a little bit to unsettle the boat. He slides and then it grips the right spots and digs into the water as he's sliding sideways, and it bites and immediately does a barrel roll. And Greg Colley was just simply going too fast into the corner and he couldn't control it. And there he is now, just a swimmer coming out of the water.
Well, a tough break for Roddy Foreman after the restart. He fought his way from third to first, but unfortunately he didn't do it quite fast enough. And we're going to go back to Brian Rogerson with the lead, or basically on the pole, and he'll start from the 1 spot. Roddy will start from the 2 spot.
Absolutely, you're right, because the reason for that being the accident was on the lap where Roddy Foreman had made the pass, so they go back a lap to the standings. And at that time, Brian Rogerson was in the lead, so he'll start from the pole. And he's second now on the restart, and they're underway. And Rogerson and Foreman, and again, Foreman having a problem getting out of the chute. And it's Sam Labonco going side by side with Brian Rogerson as they all funnel down into this very difficult turn number 1. Now Foreman trying to make a move. He got on the inside and is going to have to ride the left hip of the leader, Brian Rogerson. Spectators everywhere, north and south grandstands on the grass and even out in the water, as the spectator fleet now getting a great vantage point of the battle for first between Brian Rogerson and Foreman on the left. The man out of Texas now on the outside, going side by side, moving off into first place as he comes out of turn number 4. And with 2 laps remaining.
World champion driver Roddy Foreman has a very busy day on race day. He drives in 2 classes of powerboat racing. He talks with Steve about competing in 2 boats.
Do you ever have a problem in adjusting to boats very quickly? Because the SST 60 handles totally different than your 100 boat.
It's like going from an Indy car to a go-kart. There's a lot of difference in horsepower there. So sometimes I like to try to take a couple laps before I run each boat in each class to get my timing down. Of course, the timing going into the corners is a lot different. So I try to take a couple laps before each to get my rhythm back down.
Well, I really like this track. It gives you a chance to watch these boats corner, and that is really what they do best.
And he looks up now. Less than a lap to go. The white flag has been shown for our leader out of Austin, Texas, Roddy Foreman. As he heads down the short chute from 1 to 2, now he goes into the sun, looks up, sees his competition behind him. He can glance out of the corner of his eye as he has stretched out to over a full straightaway on the backside. Now less than a half a lap to go. And Roddy Foreman, who worked so hard to win an SST 100s, did not do that. Will be very happy to pick up the Cypress Garden Cup. Now with the boat off to his left, he challenges, no problem, 1 more corner, and Roddy Foreman comes home and sees the checkered flag and raises his arm in the air. And this man from Austin, Texas is very pleased as he works hard to win a 20-lap event that gives him the cup, the Cypress Gardens Cup for 1993 in the SST 60 class. Well, here he comes with a big smile on his face, stepping out of the boat. Roddy Foreman, probably the busiest driver around Cypress Gardens. Congratulations. Working on the 8th lap, you had worked your way around Brian Rogerson, and oh my. Greg Colley goes down. You got to go back to the dock. You got to do it all over again. And this time you're not in the lead. You're back in 2nd place. What went through your mind that time?
Well, at first you just want to go, oh man, and want to give up. But, you know, like my pit crew, you know, we hang in there like bulldogs, you know. And I knew if I kept fighting that we would get it.
An emotional day for this man out of Austin, Texas, Roddy Foreman. Congratulations. You are the Cup winner for 1993. Go enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you, Steve.
The 1993 Cypress Gardens Powerboat World Championship has been brought to you by Cypress Gardens, Florida's foremost tropical showcase. By Evinrude Outboards. The best outboards in the world have one thing in common, the Evinrude name. This has been a presentation of Bud Sports in association with ESPN.